As I reflect on these confirmation hearings of Donald Trump's appointees, we can talk about low moral character, sure. I just want to talk about qualifications. Are these individuals just fit from a perspective of their resume to hold these positions? Look, there's a lot to say about that confirmation hearing earlier in the week with Pete Hegseth, who Donald Trump's appointed to become the Secretary of Defense. And it looks like, by all accounts, he's going to be confirmed. I want to bring in former Army sniper Cory Hargraves, you've seen here before, and as someone who's done 2 tours in the battlefield in Iraq, when you see somebody like Hegseth testify, someone who hasn't commanded troops before, to be the leader of the Department of Defense, I got to get your perspective. What do you think?
So my first impressions is that Pete is probably a really good junior officer, right? Now, I understand military service it has nothing to do with being in the Department of Defense, because other secretaries of defense have held that role without having military experience, but they're using the fact that he's a major to say that he is qualified. And for civilians, a major is in the when you're an officer, it goes through 01 to 010. Pete's an 04. The previous Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, was an 010. That is literally the equivalent of a first-year med student versus the chief neurosurgeon, the best neurosurgeon in the world. So the fact that he is just an 04 in the National Guard, that he is the most unqualified person for this position I've ever seen in my life.
And so when you think about the example you just gave, a neurosurgeon who needs to be at the top of their game from the top hospital, because these issues, though, are life or death, right? The Defense Secretary has access to the most sensitive information that exists, in terms of our defense apparatus. And so how dangerous, though, can it be to have someone who's not qualified? And I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of other veterans or other, or the troops generally, but like, does this rub people the wrong way, or do they see him with his, American flag tattoos and the beer, and he's like, America, and it's like, yeah, let's do it, or is there concern?
That is the feedback I have gotten from the veteran community is they do like him, but I think people fail to understand that when you go through officer ranks, you have to read like 200 books on global politics. You have to go to the general and staff college. You have to go to the war college. You have years and years and years of education of understanding how the Department of Defense works in the global world, right? You're learning military tactics, other cultures. You're learning war psychology. So the fact that they like him because he's an American flag wearing, beer drinking American, I think it shows that we no longer value qualifications, and we don't want the right man for the job, right? We just want the guy that we like. I mean, he is the ultimate unqualified DEI hire. The DEI hire that they're so afraid of. He's the guy.
Let me show you this. This was a question that he was asked, and I think I would have liked to see more questions asked like this. But this is Senator Hirono from Hawaii, and she basically asks him, so what would you do in terms of invading a NATO ally? Let's just watch this, and I'll get your response.
Carry out an order from President Trump to seize Greenland, a territory of our NATO ally Denmark, by force, or would you comply with an order to take over the Panama Canal?
Senator, I will emphasize that President Trump received 77 million votes to be the lawful
We're
commander-in-chief
not
of this
talking about
country.
the election. My question is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal.
What's your reaction to that clip?
I understand why he's not answering that question, right? Because the entire rights argument is Trump is trying to negotiate a better deal. One of the questions he was asked that really scared me was, if Trump gave you an illegal order, would you follow that order? And he did not. I listened to the entire 4.5 hour confirmation hearing, and he did not answer that question. I think Pete is young. I think he's ambitious. I think he has a huge ego that he hasn't learned to swallow yet. And I think he's eager to please his boss. So I think when he is put in a difficult situation where he has to choose between somebody telling him to break the laws of our Constitution, I don't think that he is going to say no, if I'm being honest.
Well, and that's part of what we were talking at the beginning, though, right? Because if you have the experience and you're battle tested through all of these situations, part of the building of character, right, is understanding how to create boundaries around yourself and feeling
Correct.
enough confidence in yourself that you can say no to certain things and stand up to certain things. I want to show you this as well, though. There's another moment during this confirmation hearing where Hegseth goes that the dumbest phrase that he knows in the military is that, quote, unity is our strength. I think what he meant to say, and I'm not trying to help him here, is that diversity is our strength, because he was trying to attack diversity. But I think we know what he was trying to say here. Let me play it, and then I want to get your reaction, especially as recruiting numbers in the military are down. A lot of the people who are being recruited, though, are from minority communities, women and others who are being attacked here. And I want to just get your take of someone who's been in battle, how this rubs you. Here, let's play this.
And I'll say it again, and because I'm sure it'll be quoted to me at some point. The dumbest phrase in military history is our unity is our strength. No, our shared purpose is our strength.
What's your reaction to that?
So recruitment, that's a really complicated problem, right? Recruitment is low because only 23% of young Americans are even qualified to enlist, whether they do or not, right? That's a super low number. Young Americans are super unhealthy, right? And the other, I think the thing that nobody's talking about recruitment is war veterans like me. We came home and we told all these young people, don't join, because America is going to use your life irresponsibly. You're not going to be fighting for American freedoms like you're told. You are going to be fighting for billionaires, right? And then you enter conspiracies about the liberal deep state. Somehow the war in Iraq and Afghanistan got twisted and turned into the left's fault. Because if you remember, it was the Republicans who sent us over to war. The same people that voted for Bush are the same people that voted for Trump. But somehow with these conspiracies, they made it seem like the liberal elite new world order. So now you have a young kid, man, who's thinking there's no way in hell I'm going to join the military. This problem was created by the right. It has nothing to do with wokeness. It has nothing to do with diversity. I mean, this.
Let me ask you this, though. The attack on, it was quoted to him over and again. I don't need to play the clip, but like Elizabeth Warren and others would give him quotes. This is what you said about women, in the military, in combat roles. And he basically was saying in the past, in very kind of demeaning and disparaging ways, that women have no role in combat. Yep. And I just want to get your take on that as someone who's in combat.
Here's the deal. I think the worst person, the worst soldier in my platoon, and then I think of the average woman that I know, can she do that job? Yeah, she can. They talk about how women are just generally weaker than men. And while that's true, Audie Murphy, he's the most decorated soldier in history. He fought in World War II. That guy was 5'5" and 112 pounds. I know a lot of women that are stronger than Audie Murphy. And if you want to talk about maintaining standards, the fiercest advocates for maintaining standards are the women in combat roles. Kristen Grease, she was one of the first women to graduate Ranger School. She's the biggest advocate for maintaining standards because she knows that if standards are lowered because of women, women will never get the respect they deserve. They will never be seen as an equal and competent soldier. And standards are not being lowered because of women. They're being lowered because kids are unhealthy and because war veterans came back and scared the shit out of kids about war. It has nothing to do with women, and somehow they get blamed.
I want to just ask you, as we get closer to the day of inauguration, you mentioned earlier in this interview, though, that, some of your veteran buddies, though, who they're close to you, but they're being drawn to Hegseth having the tattoos, and him saying, hell yeah, America, let's go. We got this, America. And look, whether you're saying liberal or the types of people who Biden appoints to high level positions, while incredibly decorated 4-star generals and all the rest, they're not out there doing that. In fact, they almost take pride in, I'm not doing performative stuff. I'm leading by example, and it speaks for itself. But in 2025, it's not speaking for itself clearly because the message isn't getting to people in the age of TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. It's not speaking for itself. So I'm not asking you to solve this existential problem in the next 30 seconds, but I do want to know kind of your thoughts because you've got a platform that you're using. You're going to be on here more. I think it's very dangerous for people joining the military to be sent to war potentially against a NATO ally or being used in Panama and all of these areas and a very dangerous games being played with their lives. But they're going, America, yeah, Ted, yeah, we got it. We love the flag. All true. But come on. So what's your message to them and how does this get messaged better?
I want you to think, who has the most macho, masculine army in the world, or at least the image of it? Russia, right? They have training videos where they're shooting each other in the chest. They pride themselves on this hyper masculine, macho bullshit, in my opinion. And then they invaded Ukraine. And Russia is losing 5 to 6 soldiers killed and wounded in action for every 1 Ukrainian. Because once the bullets start flying, that ego, that's why they say war, it humbles you because you realize that giant ego isn't shit. And what takes over is professionalism, training, technology, and numbers. That's the only thing that matters in warfare. So this hypo-masculine idea, I mean, it looks great and it makes you feel good, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. All it does is it suppresses the insecurities. It hides the deep insecurities about your masculinity that you have because you convince yourself that you're the baddest motherfucker on the planet. That's all it does.
We're going to have Cory on much more now, officially a correspondent here at the MeidasTouch Network. Great to have you on board, Cory.
Hey, thanks, Ben. I appreciate being on here.
Everybody hit subscribe and let's get to 4 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 500,000 followers.